Hello, Thomas.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad, thanks. It's all good.
Good. Oh, it's lovely to see you again. How's things?
Not bad, not bad. I've got my new um, bedroom wall to sit in front of today. So it's like nice mellow green colours. So I'm more than happy.
I've been trying to take tips from people that say make your background look nice because I mean it's not working. I have a sort of nice-ish IKEA print
That's
there, and
cool.
obviously you can see the
Is that
spare bed.
Hepburn?
It is indeed. It is indeed. But the thing
Yeah,
is, she's
I'm
sort
with
of
you.
cut off, isn't she? So I need to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
some. I need a bookcase really to make myself look professional. That's what I need. Is a lovely bookcase.
Everyone has been competing over bookcases now, haven't they? It's like the best live stream bookcases.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm not a big reader, so it'd be just like one iPad
But you can have all
and the
your
books and the
records.
books that I don't even have records, you know. Do you know what I did though? The first live stream I ever did, which was not at the very beginning of this COVID lockdown, which was I sat down in front of my housemate's bookcase, and so so
Brilliant.
this is the very beginning when it was just a camera, just as we are today, and but then I didn't know what was behind me, and it's just it's all comic books, and it's like games and weird and odd tat. That really cool things, but I had my housemates mates saying like, "Why did you go in front of that bookcase? There's weird
Have
stuff on
all the options.
there." Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, it's really nice of you to agree to chat with us. I wanted to chat to you because basically, I think you are the busiest person in Cardiff during lockdown. So we've been like watching what you've been getting up to, not just with your own personal streams and doing your music anyway and carrying on what you're doing, new jobs, having to kind of respond to the whole COVID situation, how it's impacted on live musicians like yourself, right through to the amazing, amazing work you've been doing with COVID Lockdown Live. So I kind of just wanted to have a chat about that and let people know about some of the things you've been doing and actually some of the things that you've got coming up. So yeah, just kind of to get us started, I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about when that announcement was made about the lockdown and how it kind of impacted on you, really, I guess.
Right. So, COVID lockdown got announced the last week of March, I believe, or towards the last weekend of March. I work as a full-time musician. I was taking 2, 3 years away from doing original work, which I'd stopped entirely. I was going through a writing phase, so my job day to day was 9 to 5. Was I play gigs in bars. I play covers of people, so they can dance around and be happy. And I get paid. And I go home, and that's and a quiz every Thursday at the dock, which how you and me met through. Which is my favourite part of my week all week because I just get to sit around and play quiz with my mate Sean, and then I get to do music. But that all started drying up. I think sort of 2 weeks before the lockdown even got called in to happen. So I was playing a place in Cheltenham for Cheltenham races. It was the second day of the races, and they said it was the quietest they've seen, even though this bar had maybe 100 people in it. It was the quietest they'd seen it. And not long after that, I kept getting gigs pulled, and then I would find a replacement gig, luckily enough, because obviously we didn't worry about how bad this thing was. And then the lockdown came in, I think, on the Friday, and then fully into effect on the Monday. And that was the last time I turned up to pick up some gear to go and do a gig on Friday, and basically got told, "I don't think it'll be happening tonight, buddy."
Mm.
And that was the end of that. So that was sort of left me in a position where my skill set is utterly useless during that time. So then I was in a position like, okay, what does this mean? Which I really didn't know at the time at all.
No, it must have been really daunting. I mean, for there's other people I'm sure in other professions who've had similar experiences, but for I've been very fortunate that my job's kind of been able to continue, but it must have been quite a unpleasant couple of days or weeks. How did you kind of turn that fairly unpleasant bit into motivation to kind of do what you ended up doing?
Yeah, so it kept on being quite miserable financially because I wasn't actually able to get universal credit initially for the first month. I was lucky enough to talk to Owen from The Guardian about it in another interview which I did, and explaining the scenario, which I'm luckily now I'm able to claim universal credit, while I also am topping up that while working as a delivery driver. Little did I know, I really enjoy being a delivery driver. It's really nice. What I want to do is get out on a bike and deliver food to people for delivery and stuff, so I can get really fit and really tanned during this time. But I'm working on that, so I'll eventually hopefully be able to do that. But during that time of worrying about that, and there's been certain foundations that have been really helpful, help for musicians. In fact, Friday the 5th, they opened their bursary for another grant for musicians that are struggling. It's £500, but it came at a point where I was expecting all my bills to go out on the Monday, and it arrived on the Friday, and I was kind of in tears really, and I was just like, really, really just sort of that just drop of, oh my God, I'm going to be okay for a while. Because that's all you really need, isn't it? You need a little bit of time, and then you can get yourself on your feet, and that's what I've managed to do, luckily. And sort of while that was happening, I saw these live streams starting to crop up, and this was in the first weekend. So the first weekend, I just sat there quite dejected. And didn't know how far money would go, because my money had already stopped happening 2 weeks prior, probably. At that point, by the end of that month, I was going to be down around about 2.5 grand. I wouldn't say in profit, because obviously you pay to go to places and money for equipment and things like that, and gear, but this was going to be my good month, because January and February are so tough for musicians. And I saw these streams starting to pop up. And I went, this is really good. This is really nice. I get to connect with my friends. I get to see them play. And the great thing about live streams is you get to chat with them if they want to answer you. And I saw fantastic musicians that I know. A chap called Wayne Brennan, sorry. James Bauer, who was in another band with myself called Tendons, and also works in the cover circuit with me, and another fantastic musician called Colin Regan, and all three were Irish. All three live in Cardiff now. I don't know why it is. Might have been just after mass or something, but all three of them were on at the same time on a Sunday, and I felt I'm not getting to see them live. Which this live streaming experience is better than just looking at a video, because you're there at the time. I think. It's different, at least. Maybe less high sheen on some of the videos we've seen, but like it's fair. And the other thing I thought to myself was, these three acts that kind of have a cross-pollination of fans, possibly, if we could find them, or as many fans as possible. They were all competing for maybe donations or time. I think no one was asking for donations at the start. They were just asking for people to watch them. And I just thought, that's such a pity, that we need to maybe schedule this thing a little bit better, so that we can, and maybe combine everyone's fans together. And because no one's competing in the bar across the road from you anymore. It's sort of, if we all muck in together and help each other get each other's fans, then maybe that means new fans for everybody and more donations for everybody. And we've, like, COVID Lockdown Live was the idea. And I think we've grown it now with the group and the page and stuff like that. We've grown it to over 10,000 people now, which is really lovely.
Which is unbelievable, to come in such a short space of time. That is, it's crazy. It's amazing. In fact,
it is crazy.
I think I'm just going to share the screen now so that people can have a quick look at the Facebook page as well. So I can just kind of go through, just to show
this is
the work you've done.
I've never seen it like this.
So yeah, you can see how quickly it's grown to be a really popular site. And obviously, I think you had a slightly different one just before this, but yeah, it's been. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to watch and enjoy a number of streams from the likes of yourself and Juno, and I forget the gentleman's name, but there's I think he's a Welsh language DJ. He's amazing. He's been great. I didn't know him before, but he's fantastic.
Mr. Potter.
Yes,
Gareth Potter?
yes.
So Gareth is like a stalwart of Cardiff, right? And he's he's played the middle floor at Club O'r Bach for years. So if we ever get back there, we're allowed to have a dance, right? I'll probably be at the bar, where I'm sure you look like you can dance better than me.
Well,
we might be at the bar, other people might, but he's one of the only DJs I ever go to watch and actually feel like dancing to, because he's really, really good. But he's taken his dance floor idea that he does in club to a totally different area of what he does. So he picks his best songs from when they were played and remembers when he was playing this venue in Cardiff at this point in time. And he'll also tell you which riot was happening at the same time, or who he was playing with, or who he got to meet. And he's amazing. He's been there right from the start, Gareth.
But you know, it
And
has
he was one
been.
of the
It's
first
sorry,
people I asked.
sorry.
No,
Yeah,
go right
it's
ahead.
been amazing because he's like it is. It's a different experience. It's a completely different experience. So obviously, it's been great. So we'll normally have the lockdown on over the weekends. We just kind of stream it either through your TV or through one of our speakers or whatever. But I mean, it's been great to listen to the music anyway. But I think what's been really interesting is seeing the like him listening to him do that stuff. Like he'd never normally be able to talk to you while he's telling you about the music that he's playing. You know, so getting
No
that
chance.
insight has been amazing. It's even that's been
Yeah.
a really interesting like development of kind of experiencing music in a totally different way.
Yeah, as a DJ, I mean, he never did this as a DJ, but you know, the worst thing you can, or not the worst, the one thing you can do as a DJ is like, and the next one's for the ladies, and all this do. I mean, that's the sort of cheesy microphone thing that happens with DJs, but this is more of a curated. It's almost like a radio hour sort of vibe, which I think is really nice, because I think he's got all the accoutrements to sort of put that together and sort of and do a good job of it. And it's interesting what people have done with the format. James Bauer played the entirety of one of Paul Simon's albums in one of his. So he's worked all the way through. What's the one he did? Not James, but Paul in Simon. So Paul Simon in South Africa. What was it? Whichever that album is, he did all the way through that. Graceland, that was it. And there's other people who've taken the format and done different things with it, and it's been great. Like people that, you know, normally on stage you would shout requests, you're not getting them. It's not going to happen. You know, yeah, of course I will, and then you forget it or you change it around. But like Maddie Jones and Dan Fitz, who helped me set this up at the very beginning, we were the two that sat there being annoyed, not being able to see our friends at the same time. You know, they sort of do requests now. And they can do it on the fly. And they can do it on the fly and learn the song and look at the screen. And you don't mind it being scruffy because you're not looking for something with quite so much sheen. What you're looking for, I think, is the interaction.
So Maddie Jones, and I think her band now is Juno, because I know she used to be Maddie Jones, but yeah, Juno. I think we've enjoyed. So she's done a couple of things which have been great fun. They set their Zoom background to change every like couple of minutes, and so they were performing in a different, like kind of a TV bar or coffee shop. So like 1 minute they'd be in Central Park from Friends, and then they'd be performing in like Fawlty Towers, in the little bar in Fawlty Towers, which was great fun. But yeah, they've also done like theme weeks. So I think they did like a Disney theme and things like that, which is great. It's been really, I think, it definitely gives a different side to seeing their music and hearing it and stuff, which has been really interesting. But I mean, I think we've kind of skipped ahead because it all sounds like it's dead easy and really simple, and it's working brilliantly now. But I'm guessing it probably wasn't that straightforward.
Absolute. Can I say the word ball ache?
You can say ball ache. Yeah.
It was a really difficult transition from learning how are we going to do it, how are we going to share it. We combined with another group that did a one-off weekend. A chap called Gary Evans that did something called NHS COVID Live, which was helping out to get NHS funding for protection for PPE. And he did a great job of it, and I helped him out with that because he was like struggling to pull together artists. So he saw what we were doing, asked if I would play, and he went, "If you know of anyone," and I went, "Well, I know of quite a few people actually. Just have a look at what we've done the last 3 weekends, pick who you like, and we'll ask them to play." So once he'd finished, he had a group of 7,000 people, and he very, very kindly said, "Look, I'm not going to use this now. you're doing a great job with COVID. I'd like to support the artists. So therefore, gave us the group effectively. And so we've honoured that by doing an NHS fundraiser once a month since that. So we've done another one since, and we'll do another one in the future for another charity. Possibly NHS. It might be something else. It might be just artist driven, so they get to decide what they want. But that's how we've grown so quickly. But yeah, the sharing business is tough. I was going to stop at one point, but then you realise that if you stop, then someone else is going to pick it up, or it just stops. And it was, if something's good, you should carry on going, shouldn't you? So yeah, I've sort of suffered personal gain as far as maybe learning something I need to learn for doing all sharing. Luckily, I've got a team now, which is a massive help.
I know you. When I spoke to you previously, you mentioned your setup now for performing live. So this is your stage now, of course, isn't it? And you're your own sound team, you're your own production team. You are doing the role of like 6 people, presumably.
It's really odd. It's really strange. I don't profess to know how everything works, but I'm getting there. And it's sort of, going from the first few shows in front of my housemate's bookcase, which I didn't know what some of the books were, which people commented on later. Lots of superhero comics and things. But through just the phone and the microphone, and that was okay, to now, and just the microphone is on the phone, and to now using, to my right, actually just off shot, we've got my usual desk, which I use for gigs, but I now have an interface which I plug it into, and then that goes into my phone, and then you can get a slightly shinier, nicer product from it. But then, of course, there's more stuff to go wrong. So, like my sound engineer mate from New Zealand, from Wales, called Gethin John, works for Havoc Mastering, and he's a very talented sound engineer. But I sort of had him on one phone, looking at my iPad while I was talking in an earbud, while I was playing guitar and singing. And it was like and he was like, yeah, trim that, cut this, do this, edit this, bring the gain up here, down there. And so we've got to a place where it's manageable. But then we've also got people that are still using their phones. And as much as the quality might not be the same, and I don't mean in the sense of singing better or worse. That certainly wouldn't do that to anybody. Put myself in that. Certainly wouldn't put myself up or any props to myself in that sense. But like the experience, so long as the sound isn't terrible and so long as it doesn't jitter too much, is just as enjoyable, because you've still got a real person in your house, in your room, and you can just chat to them. You can just say, hey you that's over there, what can you play that song for me? And they don't have to answer you instantly, and so you don't get that awkward thing that you do when you're live. Which is why I think if we ever do get back to doing live music, I think live streams as part of that might be a big thing in the future. It might be quite nice for people to see that there's someone on, because I know if I'm local and I'm thinking of going out that night, and I see a live stream start at 9 o'clock and they don't finish till 11, I might be thinking, well, do you know what? I'm already out. I might go to that pub actually.
Yeah.
Or I might go to that bar, and the fact that it's streaming to my phone for the whole 2-3 hours that people are playing, I think it could be a really good promotional tool, possibly.
No, absolutely. I think you're right. It's good for the artist, good for the venue, good for the viewer, right? It absolutely makes total sense.
Yeah. Great if they were still selling Wi-Fi by the gig for houses, isn't it? like that used to happen, didn't it? This is your AOL 10 megabyte package. So that doesn't happen anymore, but I'm giving away how old I am.
I'm sure everyone remembers broadband and dial-up before that, yeah. And Yahoo Messenger and etc. Anyway, I'm giving away my age as well. So obviously I've been able to follow all the COVID lockdown live stuff that you've been doing kind of up until this point. And last weekend I know you had a weekend off because I know you've got plans. Now I'm very aware you don't want to spoil the surprise, but without giving too much away.
We also need to put it off first because we haven't tested it yet.
Right. Okay.
So this is all very much cloud
hypothetical. Well, it's okay. You don't have to give away much, but we can at least tell people that there will be maybe more developments going forward, and hopefully the next couple of weeks, which is very, very exciting.
I'll give away what I can because this is all that And this might not happen, by the way. So if it sounds really exciting, come and watch it either fail or work with me. So this is the promo piece for next weekend. So we've just had a very quiet weekend, which was actually our 10th weekend of sort of broadcasting and sharing and of working with the artists. So the 10 weekends, 10 weeks effectively of working with the artists, working with BBC Horizons, working with Gary Evans for the NHS. So we thought, since it was lifted, that people could maybe visit each other and see each other in the outside safely, etc. Which we still want people to stay safe. We want them to be entertained inside. Is that we were looking into ways of safely having maybe someone play, and then a multi-angle, maybe 2 or 3 cameras, and a slightly more polished sound, and something, but they're still live, so they're still able to chat to you, and they're still able to do that, but just something slightly more polished. And I think we've been talking to Nostar about this, which is by the river in Cardiff, opposite the stadium, and they've got a car park at the back there, which, funny enough, nobody's really staying in a hostel anymore. So
is it quiet? Is it?
It's really quiet for tourism recently. So yeah, and the stadium, there are people in there, but
hopefully not many. Yeah.
The NHS. So the idea is that we're going to have a slightly higher sheen production value for people, and just bring more light onto the artists we've already had, and try and drive, which is what we're trying to do, because we are generally for the artists. It's trying to drive more people to watch them, more people to donate. And if you can't donate and you like the music, that's great. And if you really want to help, then just share. That's all we're doing. Is that we've just done it on an industrious stage. So if anybody out there is watching these videos and they go, I really love that, I really like this, hitting a share button is really, really easy to do. And I know you think it's annoying, and it probably is, but pick your favorites and just share them around, because finding new audience is so important. It's the lifeblood of especially the original music, but we don't originals or covers. We just want to get the money through to the artists, and we also want to keep people entertained in their houses and feel connected to the world. It's been my excuse to be connected to anybody, just cornering artists for chats, so that I can just have anyone to chat to. Could you do a face call tonight, please? Could you do a face call tonight? So,
but no, I think you make a really good point. I think live music, people miss it. It's a huge part of society and of culture within Wales, within Cardiff, and right across the UK. And I think to do what you've done with COVID, it keeps that going, at least for now, while we wait for things to get back to hopefully a far more normal and what we're used to future. So I think it's been, honestly, you deserve a huge respect and commendation for doing what you're doing and supporting these artists throughout this time. So top man, and good on you. I'm going to try and bring this to a fairly quick close, I think, so that people can kind of crack on. But I just want to finish with a couple of very relatively quick fire questions. So what would you say has been your favourite song to play while you're streaming? Have you got one that you prefer the most, or one that you get the best reaction to?
Wow. I don't know yet. Do you know what? It's quite nice that you get to play some songs that you wouldn't normally play, because they're either too cliche these days, or everyone's done them, or in a live setting, you're always worried that someone's going to say or do something more. And so being able to do those slightly lower, quieter things has been really nice. I've played a couple of, I played, I think, High and Dry, Radiohead a few days ago, playing some of my original stuff, which is really, really nice, that needs a quiet audience. Well, they're the quietest audience you get. And that's been really, really lovely as well.
Oh, fantastic, great. And just kind of looking ahead to when things do kind of get back to either some form of normality, or hopefully full scale normal life back again, is there something that you're kind of looking forward to the most about that?
Everything, absolutely everything about it. Like there's a fantastic Welsh language comedy channel called Hansh, which is spelled Hansh, And there was a beautiful piece on there. It was a piece of poetry. It was just along the lines of, every time you see someone now in real life, that's going to feel like shaking their hand. And every time you shake their hand, that's going to feel like a hug. And I'm not going to tell you what a hug feels like, but, you know,
but we
it's
can look
just
forward
like,
to it.
we can look forward to that, you know, just being in the same space together. Because, you know, the flu happened with the Spanish flu, and then there was another spike with the Spanish flu, which we've got to be careful about, because we all celebrated finishing the First World War. Funnily enough, there was a bit of hugging happened, and then there was a second spike after the First World War, and everyone got ill again. But once we know that we're safe to be able to do that, and we've all been responsible about it, we'll be able to have those hugs and not feel guilty. We'll be able to have those hugs and you know, and shake some hands and beers with friends without thinking we didn't do our bit to hurt someone. And that's why, you know, stay inside, listen to music. You know, that's or whatever it is. You know, I think that's the message, really.
That's a lovely thought. I like it. Very, yeah. What, couldn't have asked for a better answer. Lovely stuff. Thomas, thank you so much for your time. Just before we go, I want to point out, so how can people follow COVID Lockdown Live? How can they get involved and follow?
Right. Okay. So we've had lots of people. We've started with one page called COVID Lockdown Live. That exists still. That has 3,000 followers. We also now have a group, which is hashtag COVID Lockdown Live. But also we've had from a promotion company, which I normally run with real life things, called Big Bear Social Club. So there's loads of old videos of what we used to do on there, but Big Bear Social Club on all socials, go and have a look at that, because we restream to there as well. And also Roundhead Productions as well, Pie and Hash. So lots of people getting on board. So one last thing I'd say is, there's all the socials, there's everything. There's me talking with my hands like a politician. But one last thing I'd say is, if you've got a group and it's redundant, or if you're out there and you can share personally, great. If you've got a group and you're involved in music in Cardiff and you want, or you wouldn't mind us sharing on there as well to get a larger audience, let us know. Because all we're not about getting numbers for ourselves, we're just about getting the artist more numbers. And also, considering where this might go out and who might see this interview, if you're a music act and you'd like to do a slot as well, drop us a line and let us know. And if you're not sure, that's totally fine, because that's our job. We'll troubleshoot it for you, we'll help you out, and then that means that maybe you get to go online and play, but also like your friends that might be struggling, etc., or your family, they get to see you, and they might not be allowed to see you at the moment, so they can see you play a little set or something. So we're welcome for that. It's not just for the pros, you know. We're there to try and help out everybody as much as we can, maybe through music.
Amazing, good stuff. And this really is the final thing now. 25th of June, you've got a BBC Horizons takeover. I don't know if you can tell us a little about that.
Yeah, so I can't tell you the acts. I can tell you that obviously after this weekend, where hopefully our multi-faceted image, etc., lots of camera angles and good sound, we're hopefully going to have a little takeover on Thursday night. We have about 3 or 4 acts involved that have been involved over the weeks, and Beth and Elvin from BBC Radio Wales have been a massive, massive help all along. Me and Beth have been equally sort of going, how does this work? What in the hell is this technology? We don't understand it, and then so we've got to understand it together. And behind the scenes, there's been a massive, massive team of people helping each other to understand this new world we're in. So yeah, 25th of June, the end of the month on a Thursday, we'll be doing a takeover. It might be the 24th now. Look out for it anyway, last weekend. And yeah, we'll be doing something really special for Horizons and for BBC Radio Wales with Beth Ann, and we can't thank Beth enough.
Amazing. Well, I will definitely be there, whichever day it is. I'll check, but I will definitely.
I'll find out for you.
Amazing, Thomas. Thank you ever so much for your time. Again, thank you for setting this all up. I, talking from personal experience, absolutely loved checking in and watching you guys all perform. It's been amazing. It's really made some of our sunny weekends where we've had to sit out on the grass outside our house, not a garden, just grass outside our house. It's made it so pleasant and so lovely. It's kind of, when I look back on my time in lockdown, those will be my highlights for sure. So thank you very much from me. Thank you very much from all the other people that I'm sure have benefited from it. And yeah, thank you for your time today, buddy.
Thanks for your support, man. It really means a lot. Thank you,
Take care, and we'll see you soon.
Fake goodbye.